Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here and welcome to BBallBreakdown. Don't miss our live post-game show tomorrow after Game 3 of the Spurs versus the Thunder. Should be a doozy. Will Ibaka play? We'll find out. But let's talk about Game 3 of the Heat versus Pacers because you can't afford to let any possessions go by. You can't waste one. And yet we're seeing repeatedly Lance Stephenson not hustling on defense and then torpedoing the offense by cutting into strange places and not running what they're supposed to. We heard that Roy Hibbert was complaining about selfish players earlier this year, and it doesn't have to be a guy who's shooting too much if it's someone like what Lance Stephenson is doing by not hustling on defense and doing these things on offense. That is also selfish, and if they don't turn it around in a hurry, this series will be over.
This was a game of runs by the Heat, each one inching them closer to seizing the game. We'll focus on 3 of them, one each in the second, third, and fourth quarters. They all had one thing in common, and that was the inability of the Pacers to execute their offense and hang on to the ball, and the Heat's ability to execute their offense with a purpose and finish the play. In the second, it appears Hibbert doesn't yet know what play they're running. The spacing is off as Paul George is too close to David West to make this pass, and watch how Haslam and LeBron rotate on a string, allowing LeBron to split the weak side and steal this pass. When the Heat can't get their flying death machine working in transition, they quickly break into a 5-out set, and when Lance bites on a good LeBron shot fake, Paul George is forced to rotate off of Wade, who finds a small seam and gets the easy pass without Hibbert even challenging. On this possession, the Pacers run a sideline screen and roll too close to the sideline, leaving little room for Hill to maneuver, and the pass to the short roll from this angle is very tough and almost impossible when the Heat blitz the ball handler. Luckily for the Pacers, they were able to prevent the immediate score. The Heat then turned to a full court press to really up the intensity on defense, and this appeared to rattle the Pacers as they have to wait for Lance to jog up the court to his starting position in the corner. However, he never gets there, and this looks to be flex action, but Paul George can't screen Lance's man because Lance started in the wrong place. Paul George gets the pin down from Hibbert, sees an opening on the strong side of the screen, but because of that, George is too close to West to receive the pass without it possibly hitting off his hands and turning it over. Rather than look to Hibbert in the post, West decides to throw a one-handed lefty pass to Lance, who had already vacated. Lance has always struggled passing to the post, and when the Heat started blitzing the ball handler during this stretch, he just throws it away. The Heat remembered how good LeBron can be in the post, so they isolate him against Lance while Paul George sat with foul trouble. Notice how LeBron pivots with his right foot. Most righties prefer their left foot pivot on the perimeter, and if I were Lance, I would have made sure to take away the jump shot since most righties don't feel comfortable driving with their right foot as the pivot. Again, Lance is just taking a stroll to his spot in the right corner, perhaps even inciting the crowd. And on the zipper cut to pick and roll, watch how ineffective Hibbert is with his screen. Evan Turner now has 2 guys on him, and since Lance wasn't in position, LeBron can be the third to swoop in and steal the ball. While George Hill tries to foul him and stop the bucket, he ends up giving the Heat a 3-point play. Clinging to a 5-point lead, Hill had success going to the hoop early in the third, but this call was a doozy as Haslam is never in position to take the charge, yet somehow convinces the ref up along the sideline that this was a charge. Clinging to a 3-point lead, the Pacers run simple motion and reverse it to West, who is defended well by Rashard Lewis. While CJ Watson sprints to keep up with Chalmers, it's Lance Stephenson who is simply jogging back, offering no support to his teammate as Chalmers scores in transition. As you can see from the long angle, the Heat are full court pressing again, and Paul George basically travels but gets away with it, then starts getting fancy with 2 guys on him. He does manage to get the ball to the middle, and West makes the right play to a cutting Lance, but Lance simply blows the layup with a weak attempt at the rim, hoping for some contact that never came. And this leads to the easy run out for LeBron, and the Heat take their first lead. While Coach Vogel was able to get away with using David West on Ray Allen in the previous games a little bit, in this game it simply didn't work. The Heat run Ray off a UCLA cut, then a pin down, and West can't keep up, then foolishly tries to shoot over the screen. Ray flares to the corner and nails the open shot. They run the same play again, but this time West correctly chases Ray around that screen and gets up to contest, forcing Ray to pass off. This was great until the part where CJ Watson was busy helping one pass away off his man. This allows Cole an opening to get right to the rim, and Hibbert is either too slow or just didn't even try to contest. Down 4, the Pacers desperately need to execute a good offensive set and get a great shot. When they swing it to Lance on top, Hibbert wants to flow into a pick and roll. Inexplicably, Lance waves him off, hitting West in the pinch post, but watch where he goes. He wanders down to the low post, a place he has barely gone to in the playoffs and where he's wholly ineffective as it is. Now he's just in the way, as Paul George can't drive with Lance there, and he has to settle for a tough step back. With Paul George still concerned about foul trouble, LeBron is able to get to the hoop. Hibbert helps one pass away, giving up the wide open corner 3, but more importantly, LeBron bumps into him a little and he falls down. It takes him 4 seconds just to get to his feet, while LeBron is abusing everyone else and scoring the putback. With the game in the balance, the Pacers try a short roll to the wing, but Wade crouches low, almost hiding behind Hibbert, and when West slightly hesitates, it's all the opening Wade needs to pounce on the pass and knock it away. In transition, Lance even touches Ray in the chest, indicating he knows he's there, yet then continues to back up away from him, giving him a wide open 3. With one last chance to get close after a wild miss by Wade, Paul George comes down in a textbook 2-on-1, but is hesitant and then crosses the ball over in front of a very good ball hawk in Norris Cole, who easily forces the turnover. As the Pacers scramble to get back in good defensive position, Lance is now guarding Ray Allen in the left corner. Watch his body language as he's standing straight up and down, not in a stance, and simply not ready to guard the best shooter in the gym, who ices the game with this 3.
So there you have it, sports fans. I really like now what the Heat are doing to mix up their coverage of the pick and roll. While it wasn't working great when they weren't blitzing the ball handler, it seems like they've adjusted now and rotating better, and now they're keeping the Pacers on their heels, never knowing when they're going to blitz, and that really killed them in the second and third quarters when they did start really pressing, and the Pacers couldn't handle it. So that's kudos to Eric Spoelstra for doing that, because that's the real way to do it, not just blitzing every single time. Well, we'll see if the Pacers can get back into it in Game 4 on the road, but don't forget our post-game show tomorrow after Game 3 versus the Spurs and the Thunder. And don't forget, at BBallBreakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You win.